So I have decided to make a piece with the beadbox today. I've added a few of things from my own stash here, but what I've decided to use are the oval check glass beads in the beadbox, and then the blue fire polish strand, the white fire polish strand, and I'm afraid that I might not have enough of these two, and of course I haven't had a chance to get online and order more because I just received my box and I want to do a tutorial. So I'm going to add some 4mm round little blue glass pearls to the mix just to make sure I have enough, and even at that I may not have enough. So I'm going to design this here as I make the video, so I may have to, I don't know, be a little creative. I'm going to add some 11-O's into the mix here. I'm going to put galvanized gold 11-O's, and this is a opaque white pearlized gold lined Toho. So I'm going to use two 11-O's in the Toho brand. I'm going to use the two fire polish 4mm white and blue in the bead box, the oval check glass bead, 4mm round glass beads, and I'm going to use a toggle. Now I was originally going to design it to use the clasp that came in the box. However, I want to use gold beads and it's silver, and yeah, I just don't want to mix them this time. Sometimes I'll mix metals, sometimes I won't. So I'm going to probably go ahead and stay with the toggle clasp here. So I'm going to use a size 10 beading needle, and I'm going to use some NanoFil. I'm going to use 10-pound. You can use 8-pound NanoFil. You can use 8-pound Fireline or 6-pound Fireline. All of that will work. I'm using a size 10 beading needle. As I said, you'll want to put a couple wingspans worth of thread onto your needle, and we're going to go ahead and get started designing this. So we're going to start this project, and let me just say I'm going to design this project as I make this video, simply because the limited amount of beads that came with the box, I didn't have time to order some more, so I didn't want to make a piece to design it and then take it apart. So I'm going to design it as I'm doing this video. So we're going to start with, put a couple wingspans of thread onto your needle, and then pick up a fire polish white, a fire polish blue, a fire polish white, and a fire polish blue. And we're going to go ahead and bring these down to the end of the thread here and tie it into a knot. Now I'm not using two wingspans because I don't want you to watch me pull it through, so I will have to extend, but I'm just going to tie these into a knot if my hands will cooperate. And then of course we're going to sew back through all of these beads as we always do in our first unit. So let's sew back through them all and secure them. Then when I come back to where my tail is, I'm going to go up through this blue fire polish bead here, and I'm going to make another unit. First, I'm going to make another unit of right angle weave here. So I'm going to pick up a white, a blue, and a white, like so. We're going to share this blue bead as our fourth bead, the one that we're coming out of. So we're going to go into the opposite side of it. Now I already see that this is going to be a thready looking thing. So as I sew through this second unit here, I'm going to add some little 11-O's. I'm not going to do it in the center here because I don't want to block that, but I'm going to go through my first bead, then I'm going to pick up one of my gold 11-O's, and then I'm going to go into the next bead to secure it and pull that 11-O between them. Make sure your tension stays okay, because as you do this you can kind of mess it up, so just be aware of that. And then go into the next one. Now because I didn't do that on my first unit, I'm going to go through the center bead here, and I am going to leave this part open here. I know you can see the thread, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Then I'm going to pick up an 11/0 here. Now, you may be saying, why didn't you just add 11/0s in between in the units? That just makes my units wider if you do it that way. If you do it after you've made the units and add the 11/0, then it sits in between the beads in the position they're already in. So, in other words, you'd have a bigger unit if you did it beforehand. So I'm going to bring this down. This will stabilize my units also. I'm going to bring this in so you can see what I've just done. I've made 2 units of right angle weave. As I sewed back through, I put the 11/0s in. Now I am going to pick up a big oval bead, and I'm going to back off just a little so I can stay in frame. And I'm going to bring this down to my units that I just made. I'm coming out of the center blue bead. That's important. Now I'm going to pick up a blue bead, a white bead, and a blue bead, and a white bead. I'm going to drop these down like so. Now I have to make another unit of right angle weave, so I'm going to have to be aware of the fact that my beads are going to move around as I try to do this. I'm going to come back into this blue bead here on the opposite side. So I'm going to come in through the top like so. I'm going to hold on to the bead as I do this, and I am going to pull these beads down. And then as you do that, you're going to have to pull them down towards the unit too, because they're going to want to move. Now we're going to secure this. We're going to go through the first bead, pull your tension tight, make sure it's up against the big oval bead, like so, and then pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and we'll sew through this unit we just made to secure it, but we'll also add the corner 11/0s. So pick up an 11/0, go through this bead, pick up an 11/0. Oops, I just knocked a bead on the floor. Oops. And we'll go through this one. And then we're just going to come back up through this blue bead. Tighten everything. Pick up a white fire polish bead, a blue, a white. We'll be sharing this blue one, so we only need 3 beads. Come down through the blue bead on the top side here. Now we have to sew back through this unit, and we'll add our 11/0s on the outside as we do this. So let's go through and then pick up an 11/0, and then pick up another 11/0, go through the next one, and then go down through the blue bead here. Now we'll pick up our big oval bead like so, drop it down, and we'll do the same thing again. Now that one has more of a rounded bottom than the first one did, so I'm going to get one that's more pointy. It'll fit in there nice. Put it in there. There we go. Now it's not going to fit perfect. Don't worry about that. We'll find some way of embellishing that or whatever. You can kind of separate the units a little and slide it in there as much as you can. It doesn't have to fit real tight because you're just going to bunch everything up. And then pick up a blue bead, and then a white bead, and then a blue bead, and then a white bead, like so, and drop these down, and then come around, come through the blue bead on the top side here, the side towards the big oval bead, and pull. Pull your unit down into shape as best as you can. Which can be a little tricky, so pull it down like that. And then I'm going to go through the white bead. Then I'm going to pick up an 11-0, go through this bead, and then I am going to pick up an 11-0 and go through this bead. And don't let your units get too tight and bunchy. Like I said, we'll figure out a way to eliminate the threadiness right here. So don't get too crazy about that. Don't pull it so tight that everything bunches and gets weird. And then go up through this blue bead right here. And make another unit. So I'll pick up a white bead, a blue bead, a white bead, and then I'm going to come back through the blue bead, and see, if you pull it too tight you can't get through the top, so be careful there. And as I sew through, I'll add my 11-0s again. So I'll sew through here, pick up an 11-0, sew through here, 11-0, sew through here, and then we're going to go down through the center bead and add our next oval bead. So you're going to continue making these units just like that. That's what that looks like until you have 6 units, or you'll count basically, because there'll be 7 of these units and there'll be 6 large beads in the center. So you'll want to go until you have 6 large beads. Make sure that you have a unit on either side of them. Of course you have to, or they won't stay in place, but unless you want to make a smaller bracelet, then you can leave off a unit and a large bead, or you can add a unit and a large bead to make a bigger bracelet. I am going for about 7.5 inches. So what I have done is I have made it, let me back off just a little, I have made it to go around my wrist and leave about an inch. So for my clasping, now that depends on how big of a clasp you have too. My clasp is about an inch in wide here. So, and then also connecting it is going to give you a little length too. We are also going to do some embellishments, so that may shrink it down just slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put one end of my clasp on. I'm going to show you where I'm coming out here. I'm coming out of this center bead. So what I want to do is, I think I want to come out of, how do I want to do this? I think I want to come out of this bead over here, this little 11-0. So I'm going to go through this white one, and then I'm going to come through the little 11-0, but I want to come through the other direction. So I'm going to sew all the way around, see if I can get the other direction. I may not be able to. I may have to make a little half-hitch knot, but let's see what happens if I sew through this unit and get to the other side. Yeah, I'll still be coming out the wrong way. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm coming out of the center bead now, so I'm going to take a little half hitch knot right here. And then then I can go back this way. Sorry guys. So I'm going to go back through the white bead, and then I'm going to go through, oh, I'm still coming out the wrong way. So I'm going to go through this white bead. No, I can't do that because, aha, so I'm going to go down the center bead here. I wonder if I can edit all this out. I don't know. Just remember, I'm designing, guys, and this is the stuff that you run into when you're designing. So I'm going to go to the side here, so don't think I'm a total idiot. I'm just designing. We're going to come up through this white bead here, through the 11 here, through the blue, and then through this 11. That way my thread will be coming out towards the center here, just like this. What I want to do is I think I want to add a little 11 in the center, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm coming out of this 11. So what I did basically was just turn my thread around, sew around until I was coming out of an 11 on the corner here that comes towards the center. So when you come out of your bead, you'll be coming out of the center bead. Just sew through until you can make your bead come out, or your thread come out this way. If you need to tie a half hitch knot like I did and sew around till you come out of an 11 to where your thread is coming out towards the center of your piece, then you'll be fine. So now I am going to pick up two 11 and then I'm going to pick up a purl like this. I'm going to drop this down. Then I am going to go through my clasp. My clasping is a little blocked there, like so. Then I'm going to go back through the purl. Like this. Let's get closer. And then pick up two 11 and come back through the 11 on the side here. Now I am going to sew down through this blue bead here and try to get myself coming straight up the center so I can add a little 11 in the middle. And then I'm going to, I don't want to stretch my units apart here, so I'm going to go through here. I'm going to go up through this blue bead. I know this is strange, guys, but I think it's going to work. If it doesn't, I'll just cut all this out and do something else. Haha. I pick up an 11 seed bead and probably two 11 seed beads. And then I'm going to go straight up through the purl. So I'm coming out of this blue one here. I'm going to pick up two 11 I'm going to go straight up through this purl here on the clasping. And tangle my thread. Like so. Now what I can do is go through this clasp again. So we want to go through it a couple times. This clasp has a big blob of metal in the middle of it. Hopefully it won't break my thread by cleaning this up a little bit, but now I can go through it better. Then I'm going to go down through the purl and the two 11 I just added. Then I'm going to go into the 11 here, or the fire polish bead, excuse me, down the center. So I just went down the center 11 I added, and then down the center fire polish bead. I'm going to sew back around again so that I can tighten up these beads that I originally added. I'm just going to go around the entire unit here. Up through these first three beads. Up through the purl. Make sure you leave a little room between the clasp and the purl for movement. Go through the clasp, go back through the purl. Oh, sorry guys. Okay, so what I did was I went through the fire polish bead here, back up through the 3 11-ohs here, through the purl here, down through this purl again, down through these 3 on the side here, and then I'm going to sew around this unit again. So I'm just going to go through this fire polish bead here, up through the center. It seems like a lot of sewing and it is getting a little tight, but I want to get myself positioned so I can go straight down my units again. So I'm going to come up through the middle, around the clasp, give myself some movement, back down through the middle again. Now, kind of squished my first unit far away from the others, but this is what I have right here for my clasping, and hopefully that's going to work okay. Now I'm going to pick up an 11-oh seed bead. I'm coming out of this blue bead. I'm going to work my way down the bracelet, adding 11-ohs between the unit and the large bead. So I'm coming out of the blue bead. I've picked up an 11-oh. I'm going to go down into the big bead and exit. Pop that 11-oh down between the blue bead or the white beads and the big blue bead, and then I'm going to pick up an 11-oh. I'm coming out of the big oval bead. I'm going to go into the center fire polish bead, and I'm going to pull that 11-oh down, and then again I'm going to pick up an 11-oh and then go into the next large bead. And then we're going to pick up an 11-oh, and we're just going to continue going all the way down the entire bracelet. When we have done that, then we will do our next step. Make sure that your bracelet doesn't flip over because this is just coming through on one side. So make sure that you stay on the same side as you do this. And just kind of arrange it as you do it because, like I said, it's loose and it's floppy right now. Our next couple steps will fix that if what I have in mind will work. So just continue going down, putting your 11-oh in, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have put my 11-oh in the center of each one. As you can see, one of them flipped around here, and this little 11-oh is behind the thread. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put the clasp on, then we're going to go through and put 11-ohs on the other side too, so that that won't be an issue if your bracelet flips around a little bit on the wrist, which my next embellishment should stop that from happening, but I think it'll also secure the piece a little bit more. As I did this, I kind of stretched it out and straightened it out, making sure there was room for each 11-oh as I did this too. So just kind of arrange it as you do this. And then let's put the clasp on this end, and then we will have to watch as we go through and put the 11-ohs in, that if there's some that are behind or in front, that we do just the opposite. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But first of all, I'm going to get rid of my tail here. I'm going to burn it down, make sure it doesn't blob inside any of my beads. And then I'm coming out of the center blue bead here after putting on my center embellishment of 11-ohs. So I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, and I'm just going to go through, and a pearl, excuse me, 2 11-0s and a pearl, like this, and then I'm going to go through the clasp. I'm going to drop these down first so that they fall down between my beads here. And then I will come up through the clasp like so. And then I will go into the pearl and the 2 11-0s like so, and pull this down tight. Then I will go through this 11-0 here, or this, excuse me, this fire polish bead right here. And I'm going to grab a half hitch knot. Well, let's see. Go around, come up. Nope, I think we'll be fine. So let's see if I can get myself to come around the proper way. I'm going to go through this 11-0 seed bead here. So through the unit. Through here. And then, and it's not going to come out the right way. I can see the path I'm going in. So I'm just going to grab, I've come through this 11-0. I'm going to grab a half hitch knot. I think I'll go through the fire polish bead first. That's what I'll do. And then I'll grab a half hitch knot here on the thread bridge right here. And then I will pick up my little knot here. I'll go back through the fire polish bead, and then I'll go back through the 11-0. And now I'm coming out the proper way. Now you probably all understand why I designed before I do a video. Oh well. Anyway, we're coming out of this little 11-0 seed bead. We're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and then we're going to go through the clasping, or actually we're going to go through the pearl and through the clasp. So go through the pearl here, and then go through the clasp and pull your thread through. Come back down around the clasp. Let me turn this around and go into the pearl. And then pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and go into this 11-0 seed bead here. Sew down into the fire polish bead here, into the 11-0 and the next fire polish bead here. Come back through the fire polish bead in the center and the 2 11-0s above it and the pearl. Come around the clasp, go back into the pearl and the 2 11-0 seed beads and the fire polish bead. And I'm going to turn this over because I see where my needle's coming out here. So it wants to go into the big bead. Alright, right there. And I'm going to pull this down. And again, I'm going to stretch this out, make sure that it's nice and neat. Now, I'm going to start placing 11-0s again down the center. Now, what you need to do is you need to make sure this one, this 11-0, is on this side. So I'm going to make sure I place my next 11-0 on this side. So I'm going to grab an 11-0 and I'm going to go through the big bead, and I can see that I have on this side, I already have an 11-0, so I'll turn it over, go through the big bead, pull this 11-0 down into place on the other side. So look at it, make sure it's in place. Then I'll turn this over, grab my thread, pull it forward so that my thread will go on top of the beads here. You can see that there's thread on top of that little 11-0, but it's pretty on that side, so I need to add one on this side. And most of them you can arrange it, flip them around so that you're just sliding down all of them on the same side, but mine kind of twisted, so I am just going to make sure that I put the 11 on the side where there isn't one. So I'm going to go down here and go through the fire polish bead and pop an 11. And I'm going to do that all the way down my bracelet, making sure that I put it on the side that is thready. Go ahead and do that and we'll be back. Okay, now you can see that I have put my 11 and let's get close so you can see really well. I have them on both sides, like so. Now it is kind of a pain in the butt as you're doing it because the units twist and you can't figure, you kind of have to keep turning them around and figuring out which side has the nice little 11 over the top and which side is thready and put the bead over the thready side. It's not horrible. It can be done very easily, obviously, or I couldn't have done it. But you have to do that, and you have to kind of mess with your units as you do it and make sure they're nice and neat. Very rarely does a bead just fall exactly where you want it to be. And lots of pieces, if you see a really messy piece someone made, it's usually because they're not arranging it as they do it. So make sure you purposely place things and you purposely arrange things so that it's nice and neat. So I have put it on both sides here. Now I want to make sure that I still have movement between each unit, so don't pull it so tight as you do that you don't have movement. So this has to wrap around our wrist, and the fact that these are long and flat is going to make it kind of a strange shape around the wrist anyway, so we have to be really careful that we don't make it so stiff that it won't wrap. Now let's go over here. I'm going to have to extend my fire line soon here. But I am coming out of this fire polish bead on the top after putting my last little 11 seed bead in there. So what I want to do is I want to come up through this fire polish bead here. Now it's pretty tight, so I'm going to kind of lift it and get to the hole here. And just avoid the 11 on the other side of it. Then we're going to sew into this 11 or this fire polish bead, excuse me, just ignore the 11 here, go into the fire polish bead, and then you can also go through the 11 underneath it if you want to, if you can get to it. I can't. I'm going to pull that thread down. I'm going to come through this 11 seed bead right here. I'm going to extend my fire line and I'll be right back, and we're going to start making an embellishment on the sides to give this bracelet a little bit more presence and a little bit more stability. Okay, so I'm back. I've extended my fire line. I'm coming out of this little 11 seed bead here. We're going to do some little right angle weave units from this 11 to this 11, and we're going to put a little embellishment in the middle. I'm hoping. We'll see how that works. Like I said, I'm designing, so keep that in mind. I'm going to use my white gold lined beads now. So I'm going to pick up 3 of them. This is going to be my 4th bead in my unit here. So I am going to, I'm coming out this side, I'm going to go around the other side. I have 3 beads on my thread, and I'm going to pull these beads down. I just extended, and my knot's a little big when I extended my fire line, so that's why that thumped as I went through. But there's a unit right there. Now I'm going to sew back up. You may have to sew around each unit if it doesn't lay nice and neat. I'm going to try to do it with just going through once. So I need to get up to this bead, and I'm going to make 2 more units of right angle weave. So I'm going to go here and pull through. Then I'm going to pick up 3 more of my white seed beads here, like so, and I'm going to make another unit right here. Get my thread caught and pull it down. Then also up to this top bead here. Hopefully you can all see what I'm doing. Looks kind of dark in my camera. There we go. I'm going to sew here. I'm going to sew through the top here. Now, like I said, if your units are all goofy looking, sew through the entire unit and then come back down to the top and make your next one. This is an embellishment. It's not going to take a lot of stress, so I'm going to try to get away with just going around it once. So I'm coming out here. I'm going to go into this side, make another unit. I'm going to sew through each bead individually till I get to the top here. So I'll sew through this one, and then I'll sew through this one. And now I am going to pick up a purl and an 11-0 and a purl, and then I am going to go back through the 11-0 here. Pull these up to where they're nice and neat. As you sew back around, you're going to have to sew back through this unit, but you want them up nice and tight like this, and we're going to sew back through it. Otherwise, you're going to see the thread really badly, and you're not going to get good tension because of the change in size of beads. So make sure that you pull them up, arrange them, go through here, go through here, and go through here. Now, because I can still see a lot of thread, I am going to, let me see, actually, it's not that horrible. If you wanted to, you could put 15-0 seed beads between each one of these and make it look a little bit less thready, but I don't think it's too bad. I'm going to see how it finishes out here. So I'm going to go down through this bead. As long as you pull them together nice and neat, sew them tightly, make sure that your 11-0s are centered between them, it should be okay. Now I am going to make 2 more units and then connect my third unit here. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, or actually 3 11-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to go back through this side to the opposite side I'm exiting from, make another unit, and then I'm going to sew back through this unit until I get to the top here. Then I will make another unit. Like I said, if you sew all the way back through the entire unit, then come back down to the bottom bead to make your next unit, they will lay very nice and neat. But my video is getting very long, so I'm trying to get away with doing it this way. I'm going to sew all the way until I'm in the top bead again. Here. And now I'm going to connect this unit to this little bead in my original units. So I'm going to pick up 1 bead. I'm coming out here. I am going to go, I have to reposition this, guys. I have to go into, I'm coming out here, pick up 1 bead. I'm going to go into this bead on this side right here. So towards the inside of your bracelet, because I'm coming out towards the inside. If I was coming out the other way, I would go the other way. Come here, and then I'm going to pick up another 11-0 seed bead here, and I'm going to come into this side here and pull. Now I am going to sew around this entire unit because see how weird looking it is and how loose it is, so I'm going to sew back through the entire unit. And yes, my thumb is over it, but that's how I get my tension, so there we go. Sew through this entire unit. See how nice and neat that makes it when you sew through it again? That's why I like to sew through all my right angle weave units twice, but just like that. Now we're going to go back into this 11-0 here that we connected to. We're going to go into the fire polish bead here, into this 11-0 here, and we're going to start the units again and do the exact same thing again. I think that looks kind of cool. So far I think it's working. That looks really neat. So we're going to, and I think I will, as when I'm off camera, I'm going to go ahead and sew through all my units again as I do my right angle weave, because I want them to lay a little bit neater. So as you go back through, as you make each unit, sew it again, just for good measure. And then we're going to start, I'll do the first unit here. We're going to do the same thing all the way down to the very end of the bracelet. So I'm going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. I'll come around this way. I'll make my unit. I'll sew back through it. I'll come out the top. I'll make 2 more units. Then I'll make this big unit with the pearls. Make sure that you sew around it and tighten it nice and neat. Make 2 more units and then make your 3rd unit attaching here. Continue doing that all the way down the entire length of the bracelet. Then we'll be back and move over to the other side. Okay, so as you can see, I have finished this entire side of embellishments. Now, I've noticed sometimes it's they're a little kind of wobbly. And if you don't like that, I like the bow that it's making, and it really doesn't bother me that it's a little, I don't know, flimsy, maybe you want to say. We could go back through and add a 15-0 seed bead between each of the 11 O's in the right angle weave in the middle here. That would draw it in and stiffen it a little. Or you could make 1 less unit on either side of right angle weave. It won't be bowed as much. It might pull the bracelet a little bit, but you could try that too. However, I'm going to leave it the way it is now. If I decide when I do this side that I want to add a 15-0 into the bottom just to see how it works, I'll do that. But I want to see first, because I'm a little concerned how everything's going to lay on the arm and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do this side. So what we're going to do now is I'm coming out of this 11-0 seed bead here after making my last little bow of right angle weave up here. So now I'm going to go into this fire polish bead here, and just the fire polish bead, and then I will go through the fire polish bead here, and the one in the center. I've sewn through this one a lot with my clasping, so I don't want that 11-0. I just want to go through. Come on, 11-0, get out of my way. There we go. I just am sewing around till I get up to this, or this 11-0 here. And it doesn't matter which direction I'm coming out of it. So I'm going to go into this fire polish bead now. Let me straighten out my bracelet. I'm going to come into this 11-0 here. I hope I was in frame. Anyway, I just sewed around until I'm coming out here. Sorry guys, when I'm designing, it's a whole different issue. Everything, I'm just more focused on it. So I apologize for this video. It's probably going to drive everyone crazy. So I put 3 11-0s on. I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. I'm going to go into the opposite side here, and I am going to make my units exactly like I did on the other side. Connect here, sew through, connect here, and so on and so forth. So continue as you were doing on the other side until you get to the very end on this side, and we'll be back. Okay, I just wanted to mention on this side of the bracelet, after you finish putting on your embellishments, if you are coming out of your 11-0 on the inside, you have to sew through the inside of your unit. So you'll have to go into this fire polish bead. So I'm coming out of the bead here. Let me get you really close so you can see what I'm talking about. Instead of coming out of the outside of the bead, sliding through here and going into this bead, I'm coming out of the inside of the bead. So now I have to sew through this fire polish bead. Ouchie, poked myself. And then through the middle of this one, I am going to avoid these 11 O's on either side, which can be a pain in the butt, but just avoid those. Go into the fire polish bead here and the 11O, and then you can begin your next set of units down to this side. So your right angle weave is just on the other side, it's a little easier. On this side, you have to get back to your bead by sewing through. And it's a little bit extra sewing, but it's better than having your thread crossover. Because if you come directly across the bead here, so let's say you're here, if you come directly across into the bead to go down here, you are going to have a piece of thread between this fire polish bead and this fire polish bead laying over this 11L that's going to look really strange. So sew through. Okay, so I have done both sides of my embellishment now, and I'm finished. I'm coming out of this 11O seed bead here. At this point, you could sew around this unit. So I'm coming out right here. You could sew around this unit, tie a couple half-hitch knots on thread bridges, cut your thread off and burn it down and be done. Or you can try another embellishment. And I think I just want to try one more, because at times when I'm messing with this bracelet, it wants to kind of bunch a little bit in my embellishment. So I just thought I'd try something else just for the heck of it. So I'm coming out of this a little 11O right here. I'm going to come up through this one here, and I'm going to throw into the mix now some 15O seed beads. So I didn't have that at the beginning of the video. I will make a caption if I decide to keep this part. So I'm going to pick up two 15Os, and I'm going to place them between the 11Os on the outside here. So just two 15Os, place it in, slide over to the next, pick up two 15Os, slide to the next sticking out bead on the outside here. So let's get a little closer. In the right angle weave and put in two 15Os. Then two 15Os and into the purl here. Let's see if that's going to work. I'm going to do a little bit more. If it doesn't work, if it makes it too stiff or does something strange, then we won't be able to do this, but I'm going to try. So I'm coming out of the purl, I picked up two 15Os, I'm going to go into the next one, and I'm going to continue doing this all the way down. And then if I decide I need to, I'll put one 15O on the inside to cinch it together and make a little round shape. But at this point, I'm just going to try the outside, and I'm going to keep going until I'm to the end of my bracelet. So here, let's go here. Then let's go here. I may have to only pick up one when I go into this fire polish bead. Let me see. I think I just need to do one. Two probably won't fit. See what happens here. Yeah, just one when you get to the fire polish beads. So I'm coming from here to here, so I'm just going to pick up one. Come from the fire polish bead to the 11O, and then begin picking up two. And continue this all the way to the end, remembering to put just one on either side of the fire polish beads. So continue doing that, and we'll be back after I finish that. I guess I'd put my 15Os all the way down. I'm still not 100% happy with the way that looks either. Either I will take that all completely out, or I'm going to try one more thing to see what it makes it look like, because I kind of liked it better before I put those on there. Now I'm thinking maybe if I do a bottom embellishment, it might make it better, might make it look more finished, or I may just end up taking this whole embellishment out. So let's go down. I'm coming out of this last 11-0 seed bead right here. Right here. I'm going to go into this one here. Then I'm going to go up into this one here. And now on the inside, I'm just going to add one 11-0 seed bead, because or not 11-0s, excuse me, 15-0s, because on the outside we added 2 because the diameter, of course, is larger on the curve here. So our circle here is bigger on the outside than it is on the inside. So on the inside, we're going to add 1. Hopefully that will pull everything out, make it look better. Let's see how it looks. Now, it may have to be 1 11-0 instead of 2 15-0s, but I'm going to check it out and see. So I've got 1 15-0. I'm going to go into the next 11-0 seed bead. And I think it's going to work. Let's just go through with our 15-0s and see. Pop it down in there nice. And then by the pearl we may have to use an 11-0, but I'm going to do 15-0 still and see what happens. Oh, that's going to work. So I'm just going to continue putting 1 15-0 all the way through the inside of the loop here. And then I'm going to sew up through this 11-0 here. Let's get closer. So I put my last one in, I've come through this 11-0, I'm going to go up into this 11-0 here, slide through the blue bead, go into the 11-0 here, not the 15-0 on the outside here, but on this one here, go into this 11-0 here, and start my 15-0s again. And we're going to do this the entire length of the bracelet, and we'll be back and see if we like it. Okay, so I have done the inside embellishment. I actually think I like it. I think it's going to help with the presentation on the arm. So I'm going to continue and do it on the other side too. So we're going to go up, we're coming out of this little seed bead right here, this little white one. I'm going to go up into the gold one, and I'm just going to find a path to get back over to the other side of my bracelet so that I can, and I think I'm going to try going up and around my claspings rather than trying to go through this middle bead again, because it's been through a lot. So I'm going to go up into this fire polish bead. I'm going to go into these 3 gold beads right here, into the pearl, and then once I come through the pearl, I'll go through the clasp, I'll go back down into the pearl, then I will go into these 3 beads here, into this fire polish bead, into this 11-0 here, right here, down into this one here, and I'm going to start the inside embellishments first. Instead of doing the outside, I'm going to do the inside because that's where I'm at. So I'm going to start picking up 1 15-0 seed bead and go through each of the openings between the right angle weave. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to go here, and continue just like we just finished the other side. Oops. without grabbing your clasping here with your thread. Would be preferable. So I'm going to continue doing this inside embellishment exactly the same way I did it on the inside here, and then when I get to the end I'll sew up around and do the outside. Okay, so I've finished the inside on this side. Now I'm going to do the outside. So right here I'm coming out of this little white bead right here. After putting my last 15-0 on the inside embellishment, I'm going to come through this 11-0 in my original unit, and then come through this white 11-0, and I'm going to start putting two 15-0 seed beads until I get to the fire polish bead. Then I'll put one, and then one here, and then two, all the way the length of the bracelet. We're going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I have finished my last embellishment, and I don't think I can add any more. Now, I found that there's a little bit of a buckle in this, it lifts it just a little, which isn't really bothering me too badly, but if you don't want that, then just don't add the 111-0 seed bead between the fire polish bead and your last bead in your right angle weave as you're doing your embellishment on the outside. Just leave it out. Just go from the little bead here into the gold bead here, and then into the fire polish bead, and then over, so yourself over, so that you can get to the next embellishment instead of putting the little 15-0 there. So I put the little 15-0 there originally because it would just slide us over easy. We didn't have to sew through the gold one and then try to sew through the unit or whatever. But you can avoid using it if you don't want this little buckle effect that's happening. It's not horrible, but as you can see, it just lifts it here and there. Here it's lifted a little. And actually, the lifting effect can be pretty too. It just depends on whether you want it or not. Now I'm coming out over here. I am just going to grab a thread bridge. This is after I put my last little bead in on my embellishment. I came up through this fire polish bead. I'm going to grab, I think I'll go through these little gold beads here. Grab the thread bridge right between the pearl and these gold beads right here, and tie a knot. And I'm just going to cut it off there and burn it down. I've sewn through this so much that it's pretty darn secure. So I'm going to go here, leave a little extra so that it's a big blob and it won't go through my beads, like so. And then I'm going to try this guy on and see what it looks like. Here, let me do this, and I didn't want you to watch me struggle with the toggle clasp, but this is what it looks like. Here's the clasping, and I think the lifting effect actually is kind of nice on the wrist. I kind of like that. It's kind of like a bangle. It fits like a bangle because it's stiff, simply because of the shape of these long beads here. I was afraid that it wouldn't wrap around the wrist nicely, but it does. You just have to make sure as you're making your units that you don't make it so tight that it won't bend here. It has to bend a little bit to go around your wrist. But actually, on the wrist, it's really very cute. And I like that lifting effect. I think I would leave it there. Yeah, I don't think I would eliminate that 15-0 seed bead that I told you to, because really, that's kind of cool. And it has a real nice tight presence to or like feel to it. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. It doesn't feel like it's going to move around, do all kinds of strange things. It does wear like a bangle. So I think if you used a little smaller clasp, it would be a little tighter, or you could use your slip lock clasp like I was going to originally. It would fit on the end here, and then you wouldn't have all this toggle area, and it would be a little closer, and it would be more like a bangle. So you can do this. You'll just have to finagle a way to put it on here. It wouldn't be difficult because it lays right where your beads are, so you could just sew right up through it. Anyway, that's what I decided to make out of the beads I got from the bead bag and the bead box. And I also wanted to mention, you didn't have to add the pearls if you didn't want to, the 4mm rounds. There were enough of these blue fire polish beads left to use on the outside. So I could have just used the blue fire polish beads instead of the pearl. So there are plenty. You don't have to add if you don't want to. You should only have to add to your beads from your bead bag and your bead box the seed beads. So anyway, hope you liked it. Bye-bye.